Hello and welcome to the Proptech Hot Seat on iPropertyRadio with myself, Carol Tallon, the show where we explore trends and technologies driving innovation across the built environment. This show is brought to you in partnership with Proptech Ireland, the hub for innovators, investors and indeed for industry leaders. In the Proptech Hot Seat today is Eric Gilligan, owner of VRX Architecture and Design. Eric, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Carol. Nice to meet you.
So, Eric, you're an architect by background, is that right?
Yeah, I've been an architect for about 12 years now. Started out while I was in college working for a local architect in my town, and then developed from there after many years.
Very good.
Yeah.
Eric,
Sorry, go on.
Where is your town?
Trim in County Meath.
Very good, but you're not living in Trim at the moment. You're joining us from Sicily, where you're based right now.
Yes, from sunny Sicily. Yeah.
Very good.
Not used to it.
Well, we're certainly not used to it here. It has been a pretty dismal summer the last month. But Eric, you might just tell people about your new app. It's something really of interest to us in the immersive technology space. So you might just take us through it.
Yeah, sure. Basically, because I live in Trim, we've got Trim Castle, famous for Braveheart and other movies, apparently. So basically, I designed a location-based app for the grounds of Trim Castle. So it allows the user or the visitor to the castle to go open the app on the grounds and walk around freely without the need for scanning or anything else on the site. I've reconstructed the whole grounds of the castle, basically, so you can go in and out of buildings and just explore it as it maybe once looked from my artistic impressions.
So just so we're clear on the offering, because we're seeing a rise in, I suppose, tourist-based immersive technologies. But what you're doing is that you've actually almost recreated Trim Castle to what is that based on? Is it based on your imagination? Is it based on historical information?
Well, it's partially based on artistic impressions that were done for the castle itself. There was some online, so I kind of recreated it from that. Some from like old ideas of modeling medieval spaces. Like there wouldn't be much in line of furnitures, and it'd be all kind of wooden, and well, I'm assuming it would be. So yeah, it was just basically based around just ideas that I had for the whole ground, like markets. Blacksmiths. Sorry.
What prompted you?
Well, basically, I like visiting historical sites, but I'm not too keen on reading all the notice boards around the site. So, that kind of gave me the idea. But also, when I was in Milan once, I done a virtual tour, which was basically the VR headset, which blocks out everything. I don't really like it, but you entered into the castle, into a room, and the VR experience was just based solely in that room, and you'd shoot arrows out the window, and that was it. And I was thinking, well, that's a waste of €15. No offense to Milan Castle, but so you couldn't move freely around. It was like, it was kind of dull. So I kind of developed from there. I thought, well, maybe I could do something for Trim Castle because it's a big open space. So I started a few years ago, but since when I released it first, should I say, the technology wasn't really up to speed as to what I could open the model by scanning notice boards around the site, but that's not how I wanted it. I wanted it to just go there, open it, and the model would just appear around you, basically.
Very good. So just in terms of the technology used, I think it's interesting to hear your take on the headsets, because one of the trends we're seeing in immersive technologies is that, maybe initially there was the novelty factor around it, which, to be honest, is not necessarily a criticism. There needs to be an impetus for adoption of new technologies. But actually the headset has really been quite an impediment for people. So what we're seeing now are innovations trying to get away without using the headsets, but still giving people an immersive experience, which is difficult through a phone. So you might just talk us through your process there.
Yeah, I will probably lean towards the AR headsets when they are up to speed and can use Google geolocation is what I use for the app. So I think Snapdragon are releasing a headset, an AR headset, which is just like a pair of sunglasses, which is perfect because it's designed for outdoor space as well. So because I had it working on a headset before, a Moverio headset, but it was the scene was so washed out in the daylight, it was pointless. The VR headset obviously wouldn't work because people would fall over into a hole or something, and that I'd be in trouble. So yeah, for now, I released it on the mobile device for testing. It's not ideal. It's I'd like it to be more immersive, and I think I probably will once it's released. Go for the headset, but the see-through headset, so you can see where you're walking as well.
Yeah, that's really technology. Apologies to everybody listening in. We are having some sound issues here, but look, we'll persevere as best we can. And just back to the technology side of it, because I'm interested in how we can explore this immersive experience without the use of a headset. So fine, you're using the mobile version. We found ourselves through our own innovation and some of the technologies that we've been trying to implement that actually it needs to be exceedingly light to work on mobile. So what technologies are you using for your test?
Yeah, well, it needs to be very light, and because the castle grounds was like 100 meters by 100 meters wide, so it was kind of a lot of reducing of materials and like the quality wouldn't be tip top, but you won't notice it on a mobile anyway. So the materials are quite low in resolution just to get it into. It works fine apparently. So I had a few people test it already. 100 downloads in the first week, which isn't too bad, I guess. And a couple of people came back to me saying works fine. I was happy enough with that. So
is it working on Android?
Sorry,
is it working on Android and iOS?
Not iOS yet because I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Apple products, and I'm trying to get it onto iOS. I've got the Mac there, so figuring that out because I'm not like a computer genius, as we call it.
Well, access to the App Store and all can be challenging, and I know that's delays we've run into in the past, and I know it's something we hear from other innovators. So Trim Castle is your first project, but as I mentioned there, and which might be evident through some of the sound issues that we're having today, so apologies for anybody who's impacted by that. But you're actually joining us today from Sicily. Now, obviously, I'm from my base I'm not even in Dublin today. I'm recording from the west of Ireland. So from our base here, we'd love to explore some of Sicily. So have you any plans to model any of the historic buildings there?
No. I'm going to leave that to the Italians. No, but maybe in the future. I'd love to just do a few more sites around Trim. Like there's the Yellow Steeple, there's a couple of abbeys. It's a quite historical site, town. So, and then moving from there, I'd like to do the Hill of Tara, just because I'm a frequent visitor to the Hill of Tara. It's a lovely scenic area. And then maybe a few more sites in Ireland before I'd expand into Europe. I'd like there is obviously lovely buildings here, but they're a bit too big for me, I think, alone.
When you talk about Tara, there's a number of sacred sites up around there as well. So how do you envisage that modelling would work? Because obviously I'm only thinking of the landscape as such, as opposed to any built environment. How do you see that modelling working? Well,
I'm going to again look at artistic impressions of like neighbouring sites, like Navan up the north of Ireland. It's probably based like similar to what Tara might have looked like back then. So like to be a big fort, etc. And on the main hill, and then probably a banquet hall or a long hall on the, I think it's the north side of the site. I can't remember. So yeah, I'm assuming it's just going to be basically a timber structure, and that's all really. Hopefully get some animation in there and bring it to life again.
I'm not any modeling that's been done of the medieval world. So are you having to create every asset? But if you were modeling something more contemporary, you might be able to pick a chair and change it around. But I presume from medieval, your choice of assets, do they exist at all, or are you building everything from scratch?
I wouldn't be built if I was to build it from scratch. I'd be still building it for another 300 years. So no, there's a great asset store on Unity. So I'm using a lot of that model. A lot of the modeling itself, except for the furniture, is I do it myself. So
very good. And your day job is that you're actually delivering 3D design work to the industry. So are you continuing to work while you're based in Sicily?
Oh yeah, I freelance now. So I have a couple of clients in Ireland which send me work to do. It's mostly residential work, some commercial work, 3D sometimes. Then I picked up a client here last year, just remodeling apartments because they offer like an eco bonus, which is like 110% grant to remodel old buildings in Sicily, that's why they're actually on break now, so you can't hear them drilling into the walls here.
Wow, I must look into that. 110% grant.
110%, yeah.
We're struggling so much to make relevant the vacant homes and the derelict homes grant that we have. They're so unusable by people, actually, because you have to have all the work done before you draw down and things like that. So I must look and see what the model is in Sicily and see if there's some learnings for the Irish marketplace. I
wouldn't be too familiar with the legal work because I can't speak Italian yet. So, but the company I was working for, they had like hundreds of like apartments and houses to renovate. It was crazy. But then the new government took over, and then it went down to 70%, and now I think from next year it's going to go back up to 110%. So
very good. Well, look, when it comes to any sort of retrofitting or bringing existing buildings back to life, I think we need to be seeking all the inspiration from anywhere in the world that we can to make any schemes usable, so that government resources, when they're being allocated, they're actually being allocated properly. Eric, what year did you qualify as an architect, or when did you do your training?
I studied in Leeds. I qualified in 2010. Yeah.
Okay. How strong would the digital element or digital design have been kind of in the curriculum back in 2010?
For in college, or?
Yeah.
Well, we were kind of forced into, we weren't really allowed to do much hand drawing and stuff like that. We were told, CAD, 3D Max, that's it, SketchUp. And that was kind of the bread and butter back then.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering where your interest in immersive technologies came from, and are you completely self-trained?
For 3D, yes, I'm self-trained. For CAD, actually, yes, I'm self-trained on that as well. I've done a few small City and Guilds courses in CAD, but that's how to draw a square, how to draw a line, basically. The rest I've self-taught. There's endless amount of buttons to press, so I think it'll be an ongoing process to learn everything. But then again, with Unity, for the augmented reality, that's self-taught as well from YouTube and coding. I studied coding for computer programming for 2 years, but didn't succeed at that. So, but now I love it, which is the problem. So
very good. Sounds like the skill set is there.
Sorry?
It sounds like the skill set is there anyway. And just, I suppose, before we finish up, Eric, where do you see kind of the future of architecture crossing over with immersive technologies?
Well, I think for ideas that architects and engineers have for the built environment, like a skyscraper, you can pinpoint it now so accurately. It's like, you just go down, open the app, and there's the building in 3D. And because if it was like a skyscraper, it's not going to be too heavy. You can have great detail. You can like explore all the spaces without it need to be built. Sorry. So I think for that intent and purpose, it's like it's fantastic, I think. But for the headsets, I think it's more like what I've done with the castle. It's kind of like more gamey. I don't really see what else you can use it for in architecture, apart from maybe exploring rooms.
Exploring the built environment is one of the primary uses we're seeing in this industry for immersive technologies. But what's really interesting is that actually when we give access to the technology to people on the ground, they come up with their own use cases, not coming from a background in technology or immersive technologies, but maybe coming from a background in engineering or building structural, so one of the examples we saw of that was there's a main contractor here in Ireland using immersive technologies or using augmented reality for safety on site. And within the day's training and then within a couple of days use, the team on the ground from the building site, the project team, who would never really have been exposed to immersive technologies previously, came up with other use cases that I'm not sure an immersive technology developer would have come up with. And this is where I love that crossover and the multidisciplinary approach, because generally speaking, they're different skill sets. And so when people are when they're exposed to new technologies and they know their own workplace well, they know their own domain, they have their own domain expertise and knowledge, that actually it can give rise to some really interesting use cases that might not have happened before. So I'm really excited to watch this space. I suppose
with the mechanical and ventilation and electrical, you can place all the pipes and you can see it in 3D. So I suppose it's a 3D blueprint really of for future reference as well. It's quite handy, because if I look at that wall there, I don't know where the wires are. So I guess
it'll be stud finders will be a thing of the past. We'll be using immersive technologies for everything. But you're absolutely right. The headset too heavy. It's just not ideal at the moment. So I think we're all sitting waiting for newer, lighter headsets, immersive or the augmented reality glasses. All of this, we're just waiting in anticipation. But I'm also excited to see what you do next. And for people who would like to explore more, that's VRX Architecture and Design. And you can certainly take a tour of Trimcastle and use Eric's app. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today. Apologies to everybody for some sound quality issues that we did have. And we'll do our best to lessen those, but that's all we have time for today. My thanks to Eric Gilligan, owner of VRX Architecture and Design. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out all of the other real estate and construction shows on iPropertyRadio. Before we go, just a special word of thanks to our sponsor, Proptech Ireland, the hub for innovators, investors and for industry leaders. And thank you indeed for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Proptech Hot Seat here on iPropertyRadio.